All right, we're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Never Too Late, Stories of Reinvention. I'm your host, Eric Cooter. My guest today is someone I've known for a very long time, Jacquie Fazekas. In the late 1990s, Jacquie and I worked together at Sears Roebuck & Company's buying office up in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Jacquie was my boss, but she was also my buyer and my mentor. And I'm so grateful for the time that we spent together working together. I was her associate buyer, and she taught me so much. We've remained friends ever since, although we haven't been in contact as much as we like, but we still remain friends. And it's just amazing to watch her journey. She's moved from corporate leadership to being a faith-based entrepreneur and working in holistic wellness. Jacquie is the owner of a great store, and she's the founder of Bama Health Foods and founder of a nonprofit called Bama Wellness Advocacy. She's also a certified health coach through the Institute of Integrative Nutrition and a John Maxwell certified leadership coach. After more than 30 years as a senior retail executive for Fortune 500 companies, she followed her call to help others live more healthful, purposeful lives in both body, mind, and spirit. Jacquie, it is such a joy to have you on this podcast. It means so much to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric.
So, Jacquie, I gave a little bit of an intro about you, but can you tell us a little bit about this? We talk a little bit about your background, but can you, going back, you started out in retail years ago. Can you talk about that beginning, or stop? What was your first job? What was your first job that you started out with? Let's go with that.
Sears Roebuck, first job at 16. And who
at
knows
16?
At 16, they rejected me at 15, but I was tenacious and said, I'll come back at 16. So I was hired right after my birthday at 16 at a little store, and I think in Naples, Florida. And
we have that connection. Yeah.
Yes. And my career, I didn't know what I didn't know. I joined them because I thought I was going to get a scholarship, I didn't have a lot of money for my family. So, and what blossomed was a love for retail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, a little part-time job, in apparel. And I think they recognized a little bit of what my passion was. Mm-hmm. And just like so many people, sometimes it takes other people recognizing skills in you that you don't know, or don't even, especially at that age, you don't even know what you know about careers, right? I chose to go to college fairly locally. I went to Miami, and at that time, Sears had a local buying office. And one of the regionals or the district managers said to me before I went over, you could get a job working alongside a buyer, while you're at college. So I said, okay, that seems sort of cool.
and it is, I'll tell you.
So I worked a lot of hours at college, but I was working alongside suppliers and everything. So I was really thrusted into a lifelong opportunity and love for retail. And
wow.
Yeah.
See, I knew that you had the early start in the stores, but I didn't realize, that was a time back. And I remember that because when I was a trainee in Orlando, when I started out, they had regional buying offices back then. And so you worked in the Miami regional buying office.
Yeah. And at that time, I was in apparel. And so there was a lot of shift in sourcing. So we were specifically sourcing apparel out of the Caribbean basin.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So we had manufacturers that would come in, and I would help design with them products that were being made there, because there was a shift in imports. We're in this season right now of the whole, economic shifts and who's got what business and tariffs. We were in that shift way back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
And as you said that, and you talked about design, I know for a fact the time that we worked together that you just you embrace that whole design. I remember we were working on a product line with some kind of kitchen wood pantry ware stuff that you designed with a manufacturer. And I'm like going, where does she get these gifts?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. I fell in love with retail because at least with what we were doing in the merchandising, we could put the hat on of creative,
Yeah.
or we could
Yeah.
put the hat on of finance
Right.
and money.
Yeah.
And I love, so one day I would wake up and work on money issues or people issues, like managing people,
Right.
or
Right.
the next day I'd be like dreaming up, oh, this could be a new cool thing, and
Yeah.
inspire. So it really used both sides of my brain,
Mhm.
and I'm grateful for that because I didn't really realize I needed that.
Right.
But it was happening when I was in the store at 16 because I had the freedom to merchandise whatever I wanted. So that was the creative side of things.
Yeah.
And I got to talk on the ground with customers looking for stuff and realizing how we weren't meeting the needs. So that
Yeah.
became you meet the need before the customers know they need it. And then there was the finance of like, okay, price changes. Do you remember
Right.
when we went through the whole huge EDLP? Now we got the whole
Yeah.
world at EDLP.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just I think about that early, and we talk about that sometimes. Is I think that the path that we find ourselves on at some point in our lives, there's several different like touch points through that have actually impacted. Yours began when you're working in that buying office, and I can see the thread between that and what you and I were doing in Hoffman Estates with the. I mean, I remember we did the cookware rollout, and all that came up. Oh my God, it seems like forever ago, but so
Yeah.
it was some of the best times. I so enjoyed that. I regret ever leaving Sears, but life had a path for me. But we
Yeah.
had so much fun. We had so much fun. You were such a good mentor to me. And I was going to say that we have folks like that in our lives. You were that for me. Was there someone in the early days, and maybe even when you wound up in the buying office? Was there someone that stood out that was a mentor to you that really kind of helped you clarify what you were being called to do?
Yeah, she's my best friend to today. And you might remember her in my apparel days before I got pulled to housewares.
Hmm.
My first boss, when I got pulled up to the Sears Tower at the time, my first boss was Daria Beckham.
Okay.
And she was in apparel. And so my career in apparel before I got pulled into home,
Hmm.
she was pivotal. And so we look back now, we worked, very little time together
Hmm.
with the apparel before I got in home, but we became uh, best friends.
Hmm.
And she became a mentor very quickly and
Right.
best friend. And then, frankly, she tells the story about how I flipped the switch on her. I became her mentor.
It's
And
interesting you say that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and she was a lifelonger at Sears,
Hmm.
and we both left Sears about within a year apart. And she was one of those, and went to Walmart, and I moved to Walmart. Um, and she was a lifelonger at Walmart too after that. So she's had two
Wow.
retailers, but we've been bonded ever since. And so life issues, life growing, and
Hmm.
everything. Um, and I had another mentor. He's passed away, but you might remember him. He was Bill Perino. He was our first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Bill, I only worked with him for the few years of getting the launch
Hmm.
of the housewares department,
Right.
and he was pivotal to teach the industry stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I kept up with him over all of these years, including my many transitions, and he was that sounding board of wisdom. 40 years older than me, right? I was in
Hmm.
my young 20s. We were in your young
Right.
20s. And he was 50, 60. So he passed away in the 90 in I think he was 98. But
Wow.
I still would fly out and see him and his wife. And there was
Yeah.
always nuggets of wisdom. and the way he lives his life, even in retirement, became an inspiration to
Yeah.
never stop learning, never stop
Hmm.
giving. Yeah. So those are two that are, being instrumental tremendously for me.
Yeah, I really like what you said, and I think that's true. A couple things that you said there. One is that those people that continue to be people that give you nuggets of wisdom because they care about you. They see something in you that you don't see in yourself. That's a mentor. But then you said something that really stood out to me, and I heard this a couple times with other people I've talked to, is how the roles reverse
Mm.
and how we have the opportunity to mentor those who've mentored us, and that's where the joy comes. The story that I had where my first flight student 25 years ago became my chief pilot that hired me back into aviation when I retired from ministry. And he and I were in the airplane on his first hour, and we were together in the airplane, me in the right seat again, on his 10,000th hour.
Mm.
And, just the roles reverse. So I think that's really awesome. So,
Yeah. And I
so,
think
so,
that's where it's like with mentorship, you've been through this, there's forced mentorships, right? Because
mhm, mhm.
because there's wisdom within the industry or the company. And that's always good. And maybe it lasts, maybe it doesn't.
Right.
But I really do believe that you follow, your spirit to connect and stay invested in
Mhm.
people that you connect with, whether you're mentoring or being mentored. It's sort of an organic process because
Yeah.
the trust has to build in order for it to really blossom.
Yeah.
Um, so.
And I know that you've passed that same kind of mentoring on to others. I watched some of the other associates that you worked with, and line replenishers that we worked with that you were mentoring, and that we were kind of like the home store. Seemed like sometimes we were the island of misfit toys, uh, and I was one of them. And you guys took me on, and I became a blossoming whatever I was. But anyway. Uh, so you just to kind of give everybody kind of a heads up. So you were with Sears for quite a long time in your career, but then you had an opportunity to go to a different, larger, more vast retailer out of kind of different from Sears. Can you and a couple things that you did. You want to talk a little bit about some of those transitions that you had?
Yeah, so I knew I was a passionate retailer. Like I just love I'll use the game of retail, right? And we certainly have seen the change in retail over the decades,
Hmm.
but it was the game. And I felt like at that time Kohl's I think was up and coming. There was a lot of different formats that were up and coming,
Hmm.
and Walmart was one of those. So the mass retailer was up and coming, Target, Walmart, so forth. And
Yep.
so I didn't really want to get stuck. I didn't want to become sort of a one type of retailer. I knew I was going to be in for the long haul. So that's what made me decide to move from Sears. It was because I wanted to continue to stay relevant.
Right.
And so I was there for about close to 10 years at Walmart.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And
Wow.
had lots of opportunity. Um, but always my shifts were, generally speaking, um, driven by continuing to grow.
Right.
And retail has ebbed and flowed. Who would have thought Bed Bath and Beyond would be defunct,
Oh, I
and
know.
big
Oh,
retailers, um, retail is, Amazon wasn't Amazon at the time when we were, it's hard to believe when I tell the stories around here. I didn't have a cell phone to work, when we traveled overseas, and I didn't even have a laptop. So,
right.
technology has influenced how we communicate, how we buy, the game of retail. And so in order to stay relevant, you needed to somewhat move a little bit. So that's what happened. I moved from Walmart. Um, Really, most of my career was building things. So
Hmm.
building brands, I moved to Walmart to rebuild their housewares department the way we
Right.
built Sears. So I was really a housewares, you know, I guess I hate to use the word expert, but I was a seasoned housewares,
Oh, I would say you were an expert.
you never stop growing. So I always sort of hate that word expert
Yeah.
because it's sort
Yeah.
of like it assumes a position, um, and even a mindset like that, more, or that there is a level of arrogance, and I've learned to dislike that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the experience level was there in different things. So with Walmart, and the same thing, I decided from Walmart, I went to Penny's. We reinvented the home store at Penny's. So I'm really a reinventor, I would say, with new retail format going on too. So my last stop was Burlington stores, which didn't have really a home area, and they didn't have food, and they didn't have some of this other stuff. So yeah, my decision to go to those retailers was not so much the true opportunity, the way that a lot of people will decide, title, money, etc.
Sure.
The decision was the opportunity to continue to create.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I got you.
make a difference and make an impact, both at the business level and also growing teams that flourish and grow and build a team that's sustainable beyond you as an individual.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think a lot of times, I think about even my own journey. I kind of hit a pinnacle in the work that I was doing in ministry. But there was always something kind of missing in my life. And that may be kind of a segue when we start talking about you're following a passion that's totally different. But, the thing is, though, is too many times I remember, I think it was on your team, but I remember doing Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I don't know if it was when I was on your team or when I was working in another part of the home store before I became your associate, but we did a Stephen Covey training. And one of the things it said is that, we put ourselves up and we're trying to get on every rung of the ladder until we get up to a certain point on the ladder. And we realized that the ladder was on the wrong wall, and sometimes you have to say, okay, well, I'm on this wall, but I'm doing it for other reasons.
Yeah.
I'm pursuing, like you said, I'm looking to build teams, to build something else. And I'm not just trying to reach a certain ladder and stuff. So,
yeah.
So segue a little bit. So, you went from corporate retail awesomeness, doing all the wonderful things you were doing with it. And then you became, doing something totally different. How did that, you don't have to go into details, but kind of talk a little bit about how the transition from this corporate life to following what seems to have been a passion of yours for a long, long time.
Yeah. Well, there's always the work, and the passion of retail. And then there's always the glimmer or the nudging that you just always know you have. And I don't know if you ever remember, remember very distinctly, I always talked that I would have a little store called the Hang Up. That was way back when.
Oh, wow.
Way back. I always just felt like, I'm going to probably have a little store. So, and then
I think we did talk about that. We did. Yes.
Yes. And it would, it would go away, and then it would come back, and, I would just always talk about it. I never knew when, but I guess, over the course of my life with personal issues, I call it mind, body, and spirit, because I was sick a lot. And so self-perception of what we're striving for and how we're living becomes both an exterior drive, right? But internal deficit of, health, both spiritually, mentally, and the passion. I still have the passion. Don't get me wrong. If, I like to talk about God, but if God put me into big retail again, I would probably, I love it. I love retail. Love. I could talk about it all day long. But with my health issues, at 41, I had a seizure and cardiac arrest when I was at JCPenney's. And I was saved. And it was no doubt I was saved for purpose. And that started my health journey of, oh my goodness, how do I get better and healthier naturally?
Mm-hmm.
And that was put on my heart. And so for, a good, a good 6 or 7 years, I was still in corporate, but I was living a much more holistic life. And for those that might be listening, you never know when you might hear or get pulled into a calling. My calling started back in 15. And it was a big shift. And I remember, talk about like the why. I remember waking up and realizing, oh my God, God asked me to live simply so he could do more with me.
Mm-hmm.
And what that looked like, he also opened my eyes that I was pushing, selling retail. I was selling the world. I was in
Right.
the world.
Yeah.
And I was no longer supposed to be in the world doing the pushing. Like I had to live simply, no
Right.
possessions. Like I was the one creating demand
Right. Right.
for spend and for focus, and
Yeah.
and it really jolted me. Like my whole life was a waste. Like it wasn't a waste, but it was like, oh my God, I've been living this horrible life, and I had to openly choose a path. And I said, okay, fine. So I sold everything. I sold my big house, sold everything. And at that time, my kids went to college, and I moved into a small apartment. And I didn't know where the journey was going to go, but it turned out that 16 and 17, I was still in corporate. My writing had started tremendously,
Mm-hmm.
and I was sort of hearing about John Maxwell, and then I was also being led to maybe do health coaching
Mm-hmm.
because I was so passionate about health and helping people.
Sure.
Um, I didn't know where it was going to lead. I was just saying yes, like, okay, it's why not? And I knew I wasn't going to retire because, I have too much energy.
Oh
So
yeah.
there was, that was out of the question. And I would tell my
That's not
kids,
going to happen.
yeah, I'm not going to retire. So like,
Right.
what's, the next gig? So it was in late 17. I left Burlington stores
Mm-hmm.
without any true plan. But I reflect God had a plan for me. He was going to take me through a healing journey. He
Mm-hmm.
had isolated me, and I just sort of surrendered and said, okay, like do what you want and guide me. Now, at this point, I had given up everything and was really living simply. So in August, he said I knew Birmingham or Philadelphia at the time I was living.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was in August that he said, okay, it's Birmingham. And of course, people are like, what the heck? Why do you want to go to Birmingham? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm being pulled.
Yeah.
And so, mid-September, I packed up with 2 weeks not knowing where I was going in the apartment.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
I want to pause for just a second and just give folks listening to, the one thing that I've heard from a lot of the folks I've been talking to that really have changed their lives is they don't overthink it. They move out, they move within the fear, and they take the risk because they're moving towards something that's calling them to something else.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've done it, not to that level. We had a plan and I had something on the other end, but I know what it's like to leave the comforts of position. And I'm wondering how many people are actually listening that it's what was that like I mean, you left everything. Can you talk?
Yeah, I by the time mid July had come, I was fully convinced, that I was hearing a lot from God. Everyone hears in different ways. I was
Mhm.
definitely hearing, and my writing is a lot of channeling. But I was hearing a lot from him, and
Mhm.
so I was in comfort mode. There was no fear. I
Yeah.
was in real like, yeah, okay, let's go. I'm like, let's go with the flow because like what more do I have? Like, this is sort of a cool ride. This is,
Right. Yeah.
it's an adventure. And when you look at life as an adventure, especially when it comes to living with God, it's a real adventure.
Yeah.
You can think you're on an adventure yourself in creating, and then all hell breaks loose, and it's not so much fun.
Right.
But I was on this real adventure. So that's when my book was coming out. I was telling you I was doing a podcast, and I had this whole idea of what God was continuing to move me to and through. And so when he asked me to go down, I was like, okay, my podcast, everything's happening. This makes sense. I can do it from anywhere. I'm going to go to Birmingham.
Right.
Well, 2 weeks into it, I start looking for health food stores because I was a health coach, and I was led to the store that I now own. And I remember the day I walked into the store and the people knew I was there.
Yeah.
Because they had been praying.
Talk a little bit about, if you would, as you talk about walking into the store. I want to hear about that. Talk about walking into the store, but tell the folks a little bit about Bama Health Foods and Bama Wellness Advocacy, and what that's like, and what that work looks like for you, and just talk about that, because I know that's exciting. And the more I watch, I look at your. I love social media because I can stay connected with my friends in some way. But I look at Bama and I'm like, Terry and we lived in Birmingham. And I love Birmingham. Yeah. I love Birmingham. And if there was ever another
time, right?
I know, yeah, Saks time. I was working at Saks when we worked for them. It's a great city. I love the city, and I love where you're at too. So, but can talk a little bit about that. But talk about, they knew they were praying for you. Talk about that, but then talk about Bama Health Foods, please, if you would, because I'm excited.
Yeah. So the crazy thing is, when I saw the store, right, that day, what I didn't know, it was going to close in 4 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it had been open in the community for 30 years, even more. I think we're up to like 70 years. Like, it was a health food store, and it was a pharmacy even before that. And the history continues to unfold. But consequently, if I hadn't shown up, the store would have closed. It was closing in 4 weeks. So I knew soon that God had me move down very quickly for a purpose.
Oh, yeah.
And that day it was just like, okay, get on my knees and figure out am I hearing like real and not? And I found a writing that, he said, don't you see all the people I put in your place? You can do this, and you're going to do it. We never closed the doors. There wasn't anything to buy. It was an old independent little store. No paperwork. So
what?
No paperwork. There was nothing to buy. I literally had to put a financial plan together in a week to try to figure out, did it make even sense?
But you had the gifts for that, of course.
Yes. So I remember the day that when I decided, I was like, now I just knew God like had equipped me. Like, and not in arrogance. Like, I was set up for it. He set me up. We can't see the setup 20 years earlier, right? Or the 10 or the year ahead. Yeah. But he was setting me up. And to the point that if I showed you my journals in April or May of 18, before I moved down there, I had this whole vision of the small store, the hangout, and everything that we would do. And I was heading to the hairdresser, and I said, oh my God, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this thing, but listen. And they were like, what? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. And here we are.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I finally took it over, we didn't know what name, because I couldn't keep the name. It was Health Foods West at the time. And one night at 2 a.m, it all came, and he said Bama Health Foods, and we were going to have a nonprofit, and we're doing community education, and we're going to hire people in the community, and we're going to have a food line. And that's why it had to be Bama Health Foods, because it couldn't just be some other whatever.
Right.
And I was like, blah, like, and he said, we're going to have a bus, a food, I heard it as a food truck. And it was like 6 months later, he told me, no, you're going to have a mobile health food bus. And I'm like, what?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And
Then you go into the community and take
and go into the community. Yeah. And I remember like neither of these, this was in 19, the first year. And so we operated as a regular store, and then COVID hit and we shut everything down and we served people one-on-one, and people were lined up because they wanted us. They wanted the education and the access. And for 2 years, that's how we operated. And then before you knew it, we were going to open up the doors again and operate like we were at a retail. And I just continued to lean into what he wanted, right? During the COVID time, we started the nonprofit, Bama Wellness Advocacy. And it was because there was such a need in the community for more outreach and education, both at the school level as well as community level. Didn't know what I was doing. And there's certainly too many nonprofits as it is. Right. But I tried to wrestle with him and he said, nope, you're doing it. So here we are about 4 or 5 years into it. And I don't even know what I'm doing, really. I still say that. And we're doing really good with sports nutrition in the high schools, reinventing that, working with people I had no business working with, like UAB University. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, medical students that are volunteering with us, working with dietitians to get meal plans. Like, you can't make this stuff up.
And UAB, if I recall, it has one of the most phenomenal medical schools in the South, right?
Yes. And I couldn't have found the people, right? Yeah. People walk into my life out of nowhere, and I always say, like, he sends me the people that I need. Someone asked me, like, how do you hire, how do you get the people you at the store? I said, I don't know, God sends them.
They show up.
For anyone, people or anything. And I have an amazing team, and they get educated. We have a 90-day training program. Of course, I put it through.
Of course, you got a 90-day program. I know how you are.
Like, this has to be the standard for small businesses, but I want to be the excellence, because he equipped me to have that knowledge. So how do you impart it,
Yeah.
And so I'm very proud of the team. I finally have health insurance. We're talking about retirement. There's things that as a small business, I have no business really doing, but we've accomplished a lot. So during 22, we had a fire. We lost everything. I was not planning that. But that's when God said, hey, I'll get you a brand new store. You couldn't have done the bus, but now's time to do the bus. So I didn't know what I was doing with that either. And so before you know it, I had a bus, and we're operating in the parking lot, and we're operating out of a window. And the only reason the customers continue to come to the window is because we trained them one-on-one for 2 years. Who was smarter than me?
Yeah, always. That brings up a couple things. I'll say one thing. Here's what I heard as you're talking about this, and the spiritual grounding and everything that you're doing, and being faithful to God and God's call is. I hear these words. Now, I'm a priest, you know that, so I'm always thinking biblically. Feed my sheep. And so I would ask, that leads to a question as you're talking through this. I don't want to pause you, but I wanted to just say, talk about the community where Bama Foods is located, because I think that's also essential so folks kind of know the absolute ministry and support that you're doing for community where I'll let you talk about the community. Yeah.
So most of Birmingham, about 70% is a food desert, which means there's no real health access to food. Right. Now, and I expanded to no access to resources. So on the west side, it's about 97% African-American, Hispanic. Okay. And very served, under-resourced, forgotten and judged across the Birmingham area. God exposed me to a big divide that still exists in Birmingham, between people that have and people that do not have. And so, I treat it like a business. They're my people. I'm part of it. I live, work, and play on the west side.
Awesome.
I know that it's ministry just because it was such a calling. And I remember telling my son when I went to the police station that was debuting down the street, and they were talking about how many guns they were taking off off the street. The store is located in the um, most crime-ridden part of Birmingham. So not just, and we butt up to neighborhoods and everything else. So we got a lot of pedestrians. Yeah, it's not the best of neighborhoods, right? It's changed over the years. And I remember walking out of that police station debut and calling my son and going, okay, nothing fazed me about 400 guns being taken off. Nothing's fearful. The neighbors were more fearful, and I don't even know this stuff. So I guess I'm supposed to be here. And
right.
I roll with no spirit of fear, because it's a calling, and he's given me this deep desire for people that are so not me,
right. Yeah.
But yet they are me when I talk to them at the deepest levels, right?
We all are. We all are, right?
Oh,
I mean,
we're all
God's children. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're suffering with their illnesses, right? They look at me, think I'm like the perfect thing. And I tell them, well, I've had like a laundry list of illnesses. So don't look at me like I'm perfect. Look at me like I've overcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
absolutely.
can too, And so the vitamins, we dish out vitamin L and vitamin H are free all day. Do you know what they are?
No, tell me.
Vitamin L, one is love.
Oh, okay.
Vitamin L.
I do know what that is.
And vitamin H is hope.
I love it. Oh my gosh.
And sometimes the best vitamins don't cost anything, and we certainly can't get enough of them, and we can give them freely. And so that's what Bama Health Foods does all day long. So
I love it. I love it. When you're talking about your community, and I fell in love with it. You may not know this, but my second store assignment before I came to corporate was at the Fairfield Sears store.
Oh,
okay. I know the neighborhood. I know what you're saying. That's so awesome. So awesome. Yeah.
I was just doing a 5th grade nutrition education at the Fairfield Elementary School this week.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's what I get to do. I get so much fun.
So you literally, and I know, I mean, people laugh sometimes when I talk about the voice of God calling us into places. And I hear it you hear it through other people. Sometimes you hear it through nature, you hear God's voice calling you into that, but you literally have been called to go in and feed his sheep.
Yeah. And I use the phrase, what you feed yourself matters too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely I don't get to choose steps. I get to say, okay, what's my to-do list today? And my phrase is, I say yes and God says no. So if I overbook, he usually takes care of me,
But see, the thing is, and you overcome so much. I mean, people think that, that the terms, I hate the term. I hate it. I dislike the term success because it appears that you've attained some kind of measurement that society puts on you, that you have achieved and you're done now. I've succeeded. I think the reality is that you've actually fulfilled your calling, and you continue to fill it, and you continue to be flexible and pliable in such a way that as you grow and as things transition, you can actually continue to serve in a greater way. Now, I will say one thing to you, and I know that's not your mission, but I suddenly had this image of, as you're talking about, you're providing health insurance for people, you're taking care of your employees, you got a 90-day program. I franchising?
I wait for, he's given me a lot of vision.
I'm with you.
And we're actually expanding grocery. So here's a little clip he gave me a vision a few years ago, and I fought him every step of the way because I don't want grocery. Okay.
Yeah.
And I just didn't think I had the bandwidth. And yet we've had grocery in a very small capacity because we only let the food that we want people to eat into the store. Sure. So I would tell people, we're not really a grocery, but we carry things we want you to eat. That was my spiel for a good long time.
Right.
Well, most recently, I just finally said, whatever you want. He goes, you are not hearing me. Just like the bus, right? He said, you're not hearing me. It's not a food truck. It's a mobile health food. So I said, with the grocery, I'm like, okay, like whatever you want. He goes, you're going to do grocery the way it should be done, not the way it is done, the way you're thinking about it.
Right.
And poof, the brain just went, oh my God, right?
Here
And
comes
so
creative Jacquie.
well, what gets cooler is if you journal, I go back 3 to 4 years ago, and he gave me the name Nourish Grocer. What's cool is I looked up the URL, and we now are launching Nourish Grocer inside Bama Health Foods, an
Oh my gosh.
urban micro grocer.
I love
Yeah,
it. Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So
All right. So
I
you
don't
got
know
to
what
give,
he has like in store. So that's just rolling out. So
oh my gosh. Yeah. I think Terry and I need a trip to Birmingham soon.
yeah, yes,
So, oh my gosh. I mean, you got to give me links and stuff to everything you're working on, because I want to put that in the show notes. And guys, folks, you got to go visit Jacquie's if you're in Birmingham, go to the store and visit,
yeah.
check out the website and everything. So,
Yeah, and
couple
we're just a call away because we get calls all over the country because of how we serve,
yeah.
and we ship all over. So we get more phone calls from all over because of a lot of social and other things. Like people want some human person
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
care.
Right.
You know what I
Well,
mean? Not just like, hey, do you have this? And oh yeah, I'll sell it to you. Like for us, it's what's going on. Tell me about the stuff,
yeah.
and let's talk about it. And you'll get education and you'll
Mhm.
get products. Like
Yeah.
in this day and age of product overload out there, like there ain't no education,
Right.
and it's a free ride. And
Yeah.
so our wellness advocates get to walk alongside you every single day, in whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because we have a whole group of online customers. When they call, we work off of cell phones. So they
Oh,
call,
wow.
we know who they are and what they are, and they can text us. Like, talk about using technology
Oh
for.
my gosh.
Mhm. Yeah, you can
So,
text us, y'all.
oh, yeah, we're going to put all this in the show notes.
But it's so
Jacquie,
fun because I get to not have boundaries on what retail really should be.
yeah, it's so cool because we were really we were within lines that serious. I mean, you had to do
Yeah,
it a certain way and stuff, but I get the entrepreneurial thing. I tried my hand at running my own business once too, but we won't get into that. It didn't make it, but yours is doing great. So that leads me to a question.
sure.
I think you said before that people already have the power within them to heal and thrive.
Mhm.
Say a little bit about what helps people to unlock that power.
Yeah, it's a choice. It's a choice. And I think, for me, it in what I've seen is when you you desperately want something different. You
Mhm.
desperately want the healing, wherever that is, the hurt to go away, if it's emotional hurt or physical hurt or whatever, and that you just are at your wits end and
Mhm.
have to surrender and
Sure.
have to surrender.
Yeah.
And it's at different ages that can happen. And that's why
Mhm.
I love mentorship, because the gifts, the talents, the looking beyond the pain,
Mhm. Yeah.
just allows the young folks to follow, even years ago, the conversations we had about why you do what you do, and
Right.
you followed your passion beyond whatever hurts and pain. So I think that unlocking that, um to some degree, looking back to the best of days, I always tell people the journaling, the
Mhm.
best of things that you just love,
Yeah.
and then the things that you don't like to do, or, the things that bring hurt, that you've got to be vulnerable enough.
Yes.
You've got to be vulnerable enough to face yourself.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and I think that's the healing that I went through in 18, was to realize that everything I had and everything I built was an exterior structure masking
Mhm.
the the hurt and the pain and the healing that needed to happen
Mm-hmm.
so that I could be used for good.
Yeah. Because that's all of our callings
We
is to
all
be,
have something
we all do.
that
And
is unique.
I've preached this, I've said this, and scripture tells us this, is that we all are created in the image of God because God's the great creator, but he's the transformer and the restorer of lives. And we're all given grace not to hold on to like it's a toy or something we got to put in this little jar. Grace, we have cracks in all of us. And it's through those cracks that grace actually should pour through our own broken hearts, our own broken stuff. And that's how grace actually flows into other people, is through us. And that's what you're doing. I mean, you're taking, your own struggles and stuff that you've overcome and that you're still working on, and you're sharing that with others and bringing healing and hope and grace to people that are really struggling. And I just think that's that there is no, I don't like the word success. It's the attainment of the ultimate joy.
Yeah, I think, I always have the vision, and I love some of my, my writings. Just, it floors me because it still nourishes me. But this idea of full surrender, and you're floating with your ears under the water down a river, and you don't know if you're going to bang or bump or go fast or slow, but you have ultimate peace as you're flowing.
Yeah.
And, it's a full surrender, because the moment that you try to reach out and hold on to a brick or a branch, or put your head up and look ahead,
Yeah.
or whatever, you're drowned under fear, and you're bruised and battered, and
Yep.
you risk so much more than full surrender. And so the freedom that it comes to turn your life over and just say, use me.
Yeah.
You don't have the burden to try to figure out how to be used.
Right. Yeah.
It's freedom. It's like,
yeah. Okay.
cool. You
Yeah.
want to use me this way?
Here I am. Use me. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. And I think about reinvention. You've done it. I mean, reinvention, someone said, well, I don't see it as reinvention. I'm just being who I am.
Oh no,
And
I've reinvented. In fact,
you have.
well, you can relate. I wasn't the kindest all the time. Okay, when I was young.
You had high standards. How about that?
Yeah. Okay. So I tell
of me, but it made me a better retail guy. I'm just saying. But I always loved you to death. But yeah, you had high standards.
I had high standards, and high standards myself too, which put the stress on, and and it standards that to some degree, we're always trying to chase perfection, and it doesn't exist. But I will say, when I say to the team that I have now, like, you don't know who I was in my leadership, in my, responses. And I'm so grateful and so joyful to not be that person, to have moved along, to see and growing, to be much more effective.
Yeah.
And to be that, like, what comes out of my mouth is so much more encouragement. And I was encouraging and, wanted more, but
yeah, you were.
Tone of voice and just, I was rough, and I am so soft now. Until I was supposed to be a little hard, but for the most part, I'm much more mushy than I ever was. And so, yeah, God, I will say it's only by God's transformation in me, and that he continues to refine.
Yeah.
And
I remember you and I forget when it was. It must have been in 2017, 2018. Maybe it was before you went to Birmingham. We had that 3-hour coffee conversation when I hadn't seen you in years. You were visiting Naples, and I'm like, this is a different Jacquie. Even then you were different. So yeah, you've grown a lot. You've grown a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, it's a great adventure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a great joy to be able to bring other people joy.
Yeah.
And well, we don't really bring people joy. We do give the vitamins. See, the vitamin J is joy.
Joy. Okay.
There's 21 spiritual vitamins. I just have to tell you. he downloaded those to me. So it's a crazy journey I'm on, but
You got to send those to me. I'm going to put them in the show notes. Everybody can get their
yeah,
vitamins, take their vitamins every day. So
take their vitamins, give them freely.
that's right. So not only are you a health advocate, retail entrepreneur, changer of community, educator, motivating people, giving them good lives, feeding God's sheep, you're a writer too. You wrote how many books?
I have one.
3?
I'm published in 3 collaborations
Okay.
on different topics. And then the 4th is my own sort of reflection, going beyond the
Gotcha.
surface.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure I get those titles and where folks can get those too. So
yeah, they're interesting. I have to get one for my mentee I just met and for coffee, and she's going through so much stuff, and the reflection.
wait a minute. You're mentoring somebody even now still? Come on. Are you? That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah, she graduated college, doesn't know what she wants to do, and Jacquie,
she'll help you. You're that person. I know.
yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I found when I would go to an FBO, flight-based operator, where you get fuel for the aircraft and you pick up your passengers dropping off. Everybody that was putting fuel on the aircraft were usually working on their pilot's license. They were young and stuff. And they were like, "Oh, what are you doing?" "I'm working on my my commercial pilot's license, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "I'm getting frustrated." "Oh, why? Blah, blah, blah." And I just can't seem to do it. And I would go, "Look, I'm 57 years old. If I can go back and be a professional aviator, you could do it." "You're what? And you did what?" And I'm like, "Here's my phone number. Call me." I still have some of these folks calling me and checking in and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is yeah. See, I can see
using your life for good, right?
Absolutely. So you've written, and I can't wait to go back and look at that book of yours, and I want to make sure that we have that in there. So all right, I've got we're doing really good on time. So I just wanted to do a lightning round of questions too.
Okay.
Are you ready for this? Now, one of those you've already answered. There's like 4 or 5 questions that I ask, and just to kind of see if you want to. They're real short answers. Okay, so the first one, I think you've already answered the first one. Is what was your first job? Sears and Naples, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here's one, and you may have mentioned it, but I want to clarify it and bring it back. A leadership lesson you still live by?
Humility.
Good. A book or podcast that inspired you recently?
Ooh. Truth be told, I don't. Oh, I'm reading. Oh gosh, I'm reading. It's an old book now. Abiding in Christ. I forget the author. He's old,
Okay.
80 something, but it's called Abiding in Christ.
Abiding in Christ. Okay, good. Now, you're a health advocate and you're a health food entrepreneur. But this one, sometimes we need these things. What is your favorite comfort food?
Oh, yes.
You can be honest.
Yeah, grits.
Wait a minute. Grits? I love it.
Comfort food, but I can't have it all the time.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, I love grits. Totally. I do not digest them, so I know what I'm doing to myself. Enzymes are my friend.
I gotcha.
Gotta go for enzymes.
So I'm a Tennessee boy. Terry's West Virginia. We both eat our grits differently. So she's West Virginia, so it's either butter and salt and pepper, or it's cheese, salt and pepper. And mine is either sugar and a little butter. So is it sweet or savory, or both, or either?
It's both. It depends on what you could do.
So there'll be a poll in the show whether or not you like your grits savory or sweet. Oh my gosh. All right, two more. A habit or routine that keeps you grounded?
Oh, I wake up every morning at 6 and talk to God.
Awesome. Yeah.
Non-negotiable. He comes first. He gives me my to-do list. So
I love it. I used to talk to people that were kind of new to the faith, and they'd talk about prayer, and they said, "What prayer should I pray?" And I'm like, "Okay, so let me ask you a question." I I said, the greatest time that I have with my wife sometime is when we're sitting at home at night, the TV's off, and we're just sitting together on the couch and we're saying nothing to each other.
Mhm.
And we're just together, and I'm open and aware of her presence, and she's open and aware of mine. And they go, well, that's kind of cool. And I said, that can be prayer too. And then there's the other one is that prayer can also be just being quiet and listening, holy listening. So anyway,
Yep,
just thought I'd add that. I love that. That's your new habit. I love it. Keeps you grounded. Hey, and here's the opposite. If you're not sitting there talking to your spouse, you're not grounded. You're not connected. All right, here's the last question. Then I've got one final question I ask every guest. One word you'd use to describe this season of your life.
Peaceful.
Ooh, I can tell. I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. If I may, you called me earlier. May I share the little story about what you, and I can edit out if not, but the little, So Jacquie calls me earlier, and she's got something going on. She's had a little bit of a little catastrophe at her house. I won't go into all the details and stuff like that. And my response back to Jacquie was, oh my gosh, this podcast is the least thing that you need to worry about right now. You need to take care of that. Let's reschedule. She goes, I'm on the way to the store now. We're going to do this podcast. So, to deal with some of the stuff that you've dealt with and you are dealing with, to be at peace is just an amazing thing. So I can see it. It is
amazing.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So this is the last question I ask every guest, and here it is. If someone listening, we're sitting across from you in a coffee shop, or someone you've met in your store, and you strike up a conversation, and they're facing a major change in their life. Maybe they feel lost, or they're uncertain about what's next, but they know something's got to change. What encouragement or advice would you give them?
Oh, well, I just had it last night. It is spend more time by yourself in solitude. Because even if you don't know what to pray, even if you're not even having a relationship with God, He is seeking you in this transition time.
Wow, that is powerful. I'm jotting that down. God is seeking you in this transition time. Spend some more time in solitude. I love it. That's wonderful.
You got to be able to be with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's where the intuition, the comfort, and the next steps get revealed. I was just saying last night, one of my writings is called The Foggy Space.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
The foggy space is that transition time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what you can't see doesn't mean it's not there, right?
Right. And sometimes you are called to a place of discomfort, because discomfort leads to change. And sometimes you're called to a place of respite to prepare yourself for what's coming that you can't even see.
Yeah.
And the key is to stay in both of those places, isn't it? You know, I listened to a podcast, I like Simon Sinek, and I listened to one of his podcasts the other day, and it said, if you're doing a job or you're doing a task that you really don't like, try to look at it like it's a period of education.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. My dear sister, holy cow. It's been too long that we've talked. I have had so much fun being with you.
Yes, I have too. Thank you for reaching out, and I do hope that the listeners continue to be inspired by your work and all the people that share their stories on the street, on this podcast, and wherever, because our stories matter and give hope to others.
Absolutely. And your story definitely does that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, listeners, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Never Too Late, Stories of Reinvention. You had an opportunity to hear from my dear friend Jacquie Fazekas, who's out there inspiring and feeding God's sheep in her community. We have a podcast episode every 2 weeks, and as the podcast grows, we hope to go to every week to hear more stories like Jacquie's that inspire us. So here's the thing, folks, just go out there. When you're in doubt, spend some time in solitude, listen for God's voice. Listen for that moment of when you're being called to do something you're passionate about, Go out there and chase your dreams. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you in 2 weeks.